Hello and welcome to Living with the Landspeeder, where we StarWarsified Disney parks one attraction at a time. My name's Ryan. I'm joined by my good pal Katrin and my good pal Derek.
Hey-o.
And tonight we have a very special guest on Chapter 4 of Living with the Landspeeder, Martin from Heroes of the Halcyon, or Jorg Sacul. So I always pronounce it.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Sacul.
Lucas backwards.
Yeah. That's what I should have said. Anyways.
You did.
I messed up. Do I need to? We'll just go with it. We'll just go with it.
This is stained. I want people to know.
Yeah, people to know. Martin, thank you for being on Living with the Landspeeder tonight. How are you doing tonight?
Absolutely thrilled to be here.
Sweet. Well, you run a fabulous podcast called Heroes of the Halcyon, where you talk about something, and there's this one thing you guys talk about. What could it be?
The Enterprise, right?
No,
I got it. Halo.
Chewbacca.
It's Halo, right? The video game.
No, he talks about the greatest cruise in the galaxy, the Galactic Starcruiser, which we just got off of last week.
And by we, you mean you and Martin.
Yeah,
not Derek and Katrin.
Not right. Derek and Katrin.
No.
Well, this time last week, it was our last night, right?
That's right.
Are you feeling down? Are you feeling? How are the emotions?
It's always tough when you get off the Star Cruiser, but we have found the best remedy to the Star Cruiser, the post Star Cruiser blues, is another trip to Star Cruiser. So we're actually looking to return on a voyage in October. That's going to be kind of special. We'll chit chat about that a little bit later, I'm sure.
Yeah. So this was my first time on the Star Cruiser, and words can't describe it really. You try to put it into words, but you just can't really. It was just an amazing experience, and you feel like you're in the middle of a Star Wars movie. I mean, that's
you are.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. It was surreal. It's still like it's a dream that it happened. And I think without you guys, though, I would have been totally lost for most of the time. Heroes of the Halcyon helped out so much. You guys on board helped me out so much. I know your co-host, he was guiding me around at one point saying, go here. If you want to see something cool, follow me. And hopefully we'll get him on the show sometime. But tell us how you started your Star Cruiser journey real fast.
Well, it's funny. My two co-hosts is my wife, Christine Smith, and one of my really great friends, Drew Gergich. And as soon as they announced Galaxy's Edge was going to be a thing, Drew and I, we love Disney parks and we love Star Wars. So we're like that perfect intersection of fan for Galaxy's Edge and what became Star Cruiser. And we just kept theorizing what's going to be in this land. And then they kind of announced, well, there's going to be this hotel component, and what's that going to be? And we just kept having these lunch meetings about what's it going to be, and we kept the information just kept dripping out slowly over. This was years. We'd hear about how this interaction was going to follow you down to Galaxy's Edge, and it just kind of blew our minds. How is that going to happen? That something you do over here is going to have impact with you over in this other thing. And we went on Galactic Starcruiser on, I believe it was voyage number 6, really early on in the after it opened, and we came off it changed people. I mean, we just decided, geez, within a month we had to go back and we had to start a podcast just talking about it, because the people that are on this, it is hard to describe, and it's kind of hard to prepare for if you don't know what you're in store for. So it's kind of we help people prepare for their voyage they have upcoming. We help people, get through the emotions of it when they're done. And we've been doing this now for over a year. This week we're actually launching what we're calling season 3. We are kind of doing our podcast in seasons as with each of our voyages. This was our 3rd voyage we just got off of, so we're starting season 3 this week, and
wow,
we just love the interaction of the community. I mean, the Star Cruiser and Star Wars community is just it's the least toxic bit of Star Wars fandom I've ever encountered. It's just the most creative, helpful, friendly bunch of people, and it's been a joy.
I was amazed how, not that I thought people would not be friendly, but how friendly people were on the voyage, how helpful people were, and just how people fastly became, friends and hung out with each other. And it's weird to say that when, it was an emotional journey, but it was an emotional journey because there were moments when I was screaming, there were, cheering, and there was moments where, the emotions run its course, especially when you're leaving. It didn't help that I got sick on the last night. So my morning leaving was like, get me off of this place and let me lay down somewhere because I'm so sick right now.
we were looking around like, where's Ryan?
Yeah, I have a medical condition, and sometimes I have attacks, and I had an attack that night.
Oh man!
And whenever there was somebody up front, I was like, I need to leave now, and they were confused, and I'm like, I've been sick. So I left as soon as I could get off board, just because I needed to go lay down and rest. Well,
and this is a lot. This experience. I mean, there's blasters and there's lightsabers and there's force adjacent characters on this journey. But something a lot of people I was not prepared for is how emotional this journey is. You really feel connected to the storylines, these characters. You feel really deeply about it. And it's funny. After our first voyage, we were at Star Wars Celebration, which was a month and a half after our first voyage. We actually got to speak to Scott Trowbridge from Walt Disney Imagineering and just tell him, we didn't realize how emotional it was. And he really liked hearing that they really tried to make this something that stuck with you and felt real and mission accomplished.
Yes. It was weird because, that they're actors and stuff, but there was a moment, and I don't want to give away spoilers, where I
take my headphones off.
No, I won't get no. But where
I don't want to know.
I think people know that people know Rey Skywalker appears.
Yeah.
What? Everybody knows it.
She's in the commercial.
Yeah, she's in the commercial.
Oh, yeah.
There was a moment where we had a one-on-one interaction after something happened, and I got to give her a kyber crystal, and it was so weird because it was like I was giving Rey Skywalker, or she's not really Skywalker by now because we're still in between movies. I was giving Rey.
Did you just not call her that at all?
Yeah, I was giving Rey like the real Rey a kyber crystal, and we had this one-on-one thing, and it was really cool, and it was just
that's cool.
It was so, and the stormtroopers looked like they were just walked off of the movie set.
Yeah,
and there was there was me and the Sajas, which are these force sensitive that do the lightsaber training. We had a one-on-one thing, and it felt like I was in universe talking to him. It's hard to explain until you go to it, just how amazing it is. One question I wanted to ask you, since you've been on multiple trips, were there things that you found has changed since the first time you gone till this time, like story-wise or anything on board?
I've been there 3 times now, and I still haven't seen it all. And
wow.
And and they intend it to be that way. I mean, there's so many choices that you don't get painted in this corner unless you really want to be there. But in this particular case, like this last journey, I specifically wanted to go super dark side because I had not done that. I myself would never naturally gravitate toward that path. And I tell and one of the biggest pieces of advice I tell people typically is go with your heart, go with your gut, do what feels right. But in this case, I mean, on voyage 3, I wanted to see something I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
So I went hard, like buried the needle first order, and it was a blast. It was a blast.
Hey, come to the dark side. We got pie.
Oh. Dark chocolate.
I have a whole tattoo sleeve of Darth Vader and Revan.
Oh. Yeah. Well, you actually got called out by Lieutenant Croy at the end, and people and you're a lovable guy. People were booing you like crazy when he called you out for being one of his companions or not companions, compatriots or whatever.
It was music to my ears. There wasn't a whole lot of children on this cruise. It was mostly it was only 4 or 5 kids, but there was a kid that just like looked back at me and just George Lucas is a bad guy.
And this is making me want to go even more. It's like,
it's so amazing.
But see, it's the improv level of the actors makes it so unique. Like I did the scoundrel path the first time, and again, there's no spoilers here. You know that there's no, if it's Star Wars, there's going to be a scoundrel path.
Yeah.
And the improv of these characters, you can go down the same path on a subsequent voyage and have it still feel different because it's a different person playing the role. Which is kind of unusual for Star Wars. Star Wars really has never had a different face for the same character going forward. And, it's kind of, we're kind of going into live, theater. If you go see Macbeth, you're going to see a different set of actors every time you go see Macbeth. But with Star Wars, you're not used to that. And and that actually kind of was like when I went on my second voyage, I was like, am I still going to attach to these characters even if they have different faces? Yes, you do. Completely. It falls away. There's a moment of that's not Wraith Cole, and then 10 seconds later, that's totally Wraith Cole.
Yeah.
And you want to follow this person anywhere, but just you're walking down a corridor. This is kind of the way I explain Galactic Starcruiser. You're walking down a corridor and you get a tap on a shoulder. And the scoundrel character says, I need help. Come with me.
Yeah.
And they just whisk you off into the middle of this adventure, this heist, and you just get lost in it. I mean, the shoulder tap moments that you get on this ship stay with you forever is what we call them shoulder tap moments where, Asaja, there's not, they can't have Jedi openly on a ship, of course. So they came up with a very creative solution of this, sect called the Saja that are Force attuned, if you want, but it's a way to get lightsabers on the ship without there being over Jedi, and it's super clever. But when they tap you on the shoulder and say, we need your help, you're just like anything. Let's go.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was talking to the captain, and I gave her one of my light the spark kyber crystals, and I said, light the spark, and then she replied, and then she said, meet me at this time in this location.
Oh,
and I'm like, no. So she's like, I see that you're
better not be watching.
No. She said, I see that we're, have the same, thoughts about. Because she saw a little rebel thing, and so we met, and she gave me a mission, and I had to go do a mission, and it was weird. Like, and the humor and the improv, Wraith Cole, he was hilarious. It wasn't. They seem to improv a lot and gear it towards who they're talking to, because when he talked to me, somebody had given him something, and he goes, "Look what they gave me." And it was like spice. It was like from the Star Wars spice.
Yeah.
He goes, I don't know how they got this through security on board the ship. And he smelled it, goes, I wonder if I should go wash this off. Like he was insinuating that or whoever gave it to her had it stuck up somewhere.
Oh, no.
And he made the joke I'm going to go wash this off because it smells a little bit. I guess that's how they got it on the ship. I'm just like, I was like cackling. I'm like, he would never say that to a kid. So that's how it's not scripted. They just go off of things that happen. And it was just so
let me ask you this, Martin. Do you feel like from your first to your last voyage that you got the same quality across the board, or do you feel like it's weakened a little bit, or how do you feel about that?
The magic for me is still there. I did specifically do something completely different this time, because the first 2 trips I did share some storylines between those 2 voyages. I went, Resistance and Scoundrel, and because you don't have to go down one path. you can mix and match a lot. Not everything mixes and matches, but this time I went and did something completely different. I mean, I'm literally set for Voyage 4. I can't get back on that ship fast enough.
Yeah,
I can't.
Cool.
I mean, we know for a fact that the Lucasfilm Story Group is working on the next generation of what the storylines are going to be for Galactic Starcruiser. When's that going to be? A year from now, 2 years from now, 5? We don't know, but they've said point blank that there is expansion to grow, and it's funny. I actually realize I have a theory on what the expansion is that I kind of came to the realization of on this trip. It's we might be able to chit chat about that later, but they have this is a long-term thing for Disney. I mean, this is a huge investment. The technology on this thing, I mean, is unreal. I mean, you just take the Rey's real lightsaber. We all know it's not a real lightsaber, but let me tell you, when she turns the thing on right in front of you, it sure looks and feels real to me. It's stunning.
Yes, the videos don't do it justice at all.
They do not even.
With that being said, since you've done 3, you're getting ready for your 4th. Obviously, the average person isn't going to be able to shell out that kind of money to do that much. But do you think that it's going to be able to survive the quality that it's at now? Because of the price point, they're already having problems filling it. What do you think is going to happen?
Derek, absolutely awesome question. And the fact is, you always pay extra to be an early adopter. I mean, I'm not going to insinuate that I could afford to go 3 times, but I did. But we did anyway.
But the average person, if they go once, it's going to be a while before they go, probably, or at all.
The great thing is what we have found, and again, myself and my wife and our friend Drew, we all share a room, and that cuts the cost down significantly, unbelievably. I mean, you could put up to 5 people in one of the standard rooms relatively comfortably. I mean, there are 5 different beds and sleeping areas, and you can do that. There's actually something that we actually did an episode of our podcast on something called Starcruiser Suite Finder, that it just puts people together that are, kind of like-minded. They got the same kind of temperament and disposition. And, it's a way to turn a, $6,000 voyage into a $1,500 voyage by sharing the room with other people. And we've heard just incredible success stories that not only does it reduce the cost, but people make friendships that last beyond the trip. We actually, Gabby, I mean, we met people on this voyage that they came back with the same group of people that they randomly kind of went with the first time because they liked each other so much. And that's kind of cool. Yeah. But I mean, it's like we kind of mentioned before we started recording, is that there are some discounts starting to roll out, 30% off for Disney Visa, and things like that, which again, people, anytime, the Starcruiser hate is alive and well everywhere you look. People, the Starcruiser's failing, they got to do discounts. I mean, they're doing those same discounts for every single Disney resort, every one of them.
Oh yeah.
And they had to for Starcruiser. They had to. It is at early adopter pricing. That being said, as someone who has been going to Disney parks for upwards of 40 years now, the trick I've learned in the past couple decades is whenever something opens at Disney, go early, because that's when you see it in its pristine Imagineering state.
Sure.
Yes. What I'm afraid of happening, and I've absolutely no proof or idea that this is happening, but it could, is what I'm afraid could happen is they jettison some features or some quality or some story to bring that price point down. And that would be a shame. So that's why I really, really wanted, and Drew and Christine and I, we really wanted to see this thing exactly how it was meant to be seen. But as far as we can see, I mean, these discounts are starting to roll out. 30% is not small change. The quality hasn't dropped. The quality hasn't dropped one bit.
That's great.
Since and it's kind of funny because when they were starting to kind of finalize the feature set of Galaxy's Edge, we saw things being dropped.
Yeah.
We did, and it's funny. We all theorized that a lot of these features that were dropped were going to kind of make it on StarCruiser, and StarCruiser was going to be kind of the paid training, testing ground for a lot of these things. Which who knows if any of that happened, but I believe that the discounts are coming. They are with they got to fill the rooms. They got to fill the rooms. There's nothing to compare this to. I mean, people say I could stay at the Grand Floridian for this price. I'm like, yeah, but you can't do a mission in space with a scoundrel and go steal coaxium, and you can't go. You can't do any of that. It's not an apples to apples comparison. I mean, there's it isn't. There's nothing to compare this to. And one of the things that we kind of like to ask ourselves, and I don't want to go off on a weird tangent, but like, what other franchise would support something like this? Not every franchise could even do this. We love Marvel, we love MCU, Avengers Campus, and all, but Marvel couldn't do this type of interactive experience for 2 days. It wouldn't hold up the same way. So they really did create something special. And they're going to find the price point. They're going to find the price point.
I think it's good the point you made about being able to go back and do these other stories and these other roles, fulfill those. That was something we had questions about in the beginning. It's like, how sustainable is it? How replayable is it? And I've heard you say that, and heard some other folks say that they feel like they can go back and do these things, and that's certainly encouraging. And then hearing about these other stories that could be coming, I think that's going to help tremendously. And so that's exciting. I think the only other franchise that maybe could do it, maybe Harry Potter. I don't know. What do y'all think about that? I mean,
yeah, I think Harry Potter could pull it off.
They could do it.
Harry Potter. Yeah.
But I would go back and do the same story over and over. It was just so good. Let's do because we got to do some rides here.
Yeah, that's right.
But before we get that, let's talk just briefly about your character on board the StarCruiser, because I thought one of the best characters on the ship, whether they were paid to be there or whether they paid to be there. Can you give your background of your character aboard the StarCruiser?
Sure. I mean, it's a fun story all by itself. Is that back in Star Wars Celebration #2, this is going many, many years ago, Hasbro did an action figure exclusive named Jorg Sacul, and it was basically a George Lucas tribute action figure. It had a George Lucas head and an X-wing fighter pilot body, and that was it. I mean, it's here, right, boom. I mean, here's what it looks like. I mean, it's
I remember
many years ago, but Hasbro actually did kind of canon. I'm not gonna say it's canon, but Commander Jorg Sacul was the name, and of course, Jorg just sounds like Space George, and Sakul's just Lucas spelled backwards. And last year, when we were kind of planning our StarCruiser voyage, I was just getting copies made at a local copy store, and the clerk said, "Hey, you know who you look like?" And I'm like, tell me, who do I look like?
Lay it on me.
She's like, you look like George Lucas. And I'm like, what? I go home and tell my wife, you know what this person said I look like? She said I look like George Lucas. And then my wife kind of took 2 steps back and said, I kind of see it. And I just thought, then again, I've been a toy collector literally since I had an early bird kit. I mean, I'm that guy that's been collecting these things literally like his entire life. And I just immediately thought of Jorg Sacul, and take this razor thin paragraph of backstory that Hasbro did for this figure. Why not just make it complete character? And I have created what is very likely the most ridiculously overproduced fan intro video. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, this character is so much fun because again, people see Lucas and they like to see Lucas playing in space. And I didn't want to go to the StarCruiser as George Lucas. That would be weird. But if I go as a character based on George Lucas, that's a lot of fun for a lot of people. And the characters on board the ship have a lot of fun with it. And again, if you go to YouTube and just search on Heroes to Halcyon, it's all 3 of us did character intro videos, and the Jorg Sacul one is 4.5 minutes you will never forget.
That's great.
How deep does the rabbit hole go? And it goes real deep. So that's the short version. I took Hasbro's idea and ran with it.
But you make so your character makes holo movies or whatever you want.
Holovids.
Yes. And one of the coolest parts of the voyage, this last voyage, was you were presented with the character from your movie in real life action figure form. Porg, what's his? I forget.
Polly the Porg.
Polly the Porg. He's smoking a cigarette or something. He's got the sunglasses on from I guess you made the movie poster.
I made, yeah. If you watch the video, the short version is how do you get Star Wars to exist within Star Wars? So what Jorg Sacul did is, nobody knew history in the galaxy, so he made holovids based on what the rebellion fighting the Empire and whatnot, and and then he made a film that bombed terribly called Polly the Porg, which of course is an analog to the Lucasfilm Howard the Duck movie.
Yeah.
And the crew on Galactic Starcruiser, there's a couple in very specifically, I'm going to give a shout out to Belle. They have just latched onto this ridiculous idea of Jorg Sacul's vidography, I should say, and she actually made me a Polly the Porg live, and it was able to present it. It's just the craziest, weirdest thing. I mean, last voyage, I was just standing in the atrium, going through my data pad, your phone, just scrolling through the missions. And I could hear these cast members talking behind me. And again, this is just the crew that works there, not the primary cast.
Yeah.
And I could hear them, and they're starting to argue with each other, like right behind me, about who's the bigger Jorg Sacul fan. And then one of them stops and and I'm just watching this through the side eye, and I'm like, and one of them stops and just points at the others, and you are a fake Jorg Sacul fan. It's just
that's great.
It's just the craziest, the cast members, the crew, they're so clever. Give them something fun to work with and they will run with it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's great.
If this interview doesn't want to make you go on the Starcruiser, I don't know what will, because let me tell you, it's amazing. I could talk about Starcruiser literally the rest of the night with you, Martin, but we've got a mission here.
Yes.
This is Living with the Landspeeder, and we StarWarsify rides. Can you tell our listening audience and our viewers which ride, because we let you pick the attraction, which attraction did you pick to StarWarsify?
Well, Kilimanjaro Safaris in Disney's Animal Kingdom is today's attraction of choice.
Woohoo! Now this,
Jumbo.
Yes, Jumbo. This is, I think, literally the largest attraction at Walt Disney World, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I mean, the space this one takes, the amount of resources that Disney expends to keep this thing going the way it is, it's unbelievable, and I love it. I love this attraction so much.
Yeah, I think it's like 100 acres or somewhere in there. Yeah, 110 acres. Is what we have to play with tonight.
Wow.
We have 110 acres to play with. So if one of us comes up with a story where we're riding teacups in the middle of the safari, then no.
Oh.
We have 110
they're not
acres.
Teacups, but they are. Thanks, Ryan. So much for those Cheerios.
Guess you'll have to go with option B, Derek.
Plan B.
Plan B, Derek. All right.
Everything is teacups.
So here's what we do for those listening. Maybe this is your first time listening. We take the ride and we Star Warsify it. So we take the existing ride and somehow make it Star Wars. So who would like the honor of going first tonight? If nobody else wants to, I'll go first because I don't care.
I'll go first tonight because
you'll go first.
Yeah. I'll go. Yeah. So
there you go, Derek.
I also want to do that so no one. I don't think anybody's gonna take mine, but
I don't know.
I don't have to do mine because I've got a backup. I've got a backup plan, and I have to give a shout out. Like I had my plan, and I told my wife what my plan was, and she was like, "That's pretty okay." She was like, "Why are you not using the murder bears, the Ewoks?"
The murder bear.
Wait, okay, so I rethought this whole thing, and I wanted to be on Endor. Okay.
Oh,
And
okay.
so one of my favorite games for Xbox is Battlefront 2.
Yes.
And
Oh,
in
yeah.
Battlefront 2, they have a
Oh,
mode
man. Yes.
where you can either be an Ewok or you can be a Stormtrooper. And if you're an
Love
Ewok,
it.
you're trying to fight the Stormtroopers in the dark. And if you're a Stormtrooper, you're trying to find the Ewoks. It's this really cool game. And I was
Yes.
like, that's what I want the ride to be. But obviously, you have to have it during the day. And I'm thinking, what movie just got re-released? Return of the Jedi. And so you make the whole scene like starting off at Return of the Jedi, and you're fighting all of the stormtroopers and all of this stuff. But then also to tie in the animals, you bring in the different animals that are on Endor. Things like, they have several sentient beings there, but they've got several semi-sentient beings like the Kagels and the grass trekkers and the Gorax. I guess the Gorax is one
Yes.
that the Ewoks fight constantly. But then you've got things like the blurg. Everybody loves blurgs. So you can have blurgs out in the savannah and all of these kind of feels. But then as it gets later into the evening, the sun starts to set, is when you have the more interactive kind of game of you're picking what you are. If you're going to be on Team Ewok or if you're Team Stormtrooper. It's kind of like, you've got a little bit of the Rise of the Resistance where you're with the Resistance. Well, this one, you get a pick almost like with the Starcruiser. They have so much space to do it where it's basically two separate experiences depending on the time of day that you go.
Oh,
Nice.
That's awesome.
That is
Mm.
great.
Thanks to my wife for making me change my mind.
Originally, it was the teacups, right?
No, originally, I guess I'll say originally I was going to do Alderaan before it got destroyed.
Oh, at the end of the ride, it just all blows up.
You hear this?
Hey.
It was kind of part of it, yes.
Oh no!
Because remember the original Kilimanjaro when you had to try to get the poachers and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was going to be
one.
like, oh, you got to get off before the Death Star blows you up. Look at all this beautiful stuff. It's gone. Have fun. Enjoy your ride.
Well, since you mentioned Return of the Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't mind, I'll go next. If you're
All
done,
right.
unless you're not done.
Oh, that's it.
Okay,
You got it.
because
Did you have a restaurant or anything though?
Oh, I'm a Tusker House and just make it Star Wars. I love Tusker House. Like keep the food the exact same,
I've
except
got
except C-3PO's floating around on a chair, and and that's about it.
You call it Tuscan House.
Nice.
Really
All right,
good.
so I decided to since it's the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, I wanted to go with that theme. I was thinking, okay, we have 110 acres to play with, plus you have Tusker House. So my ride is called the Dune Sea of Tatooine.
Okay.
And it starts out front with the restaurant that is Jabba's Palace. So we turn Tusker's house into Jabba's Palace. I think I've got a poster for it somewhere.
We do.
You
It
could
kind of-
call it Tusker Hut.
Jabba's Palace featuring the Max
Yeah.
Rebo band. So we'll have a live band or the Max Rebo band, animatronic band, like Showbiz Pizza or Chuck E. Cheese. But we'll have the Max Rebo band there at Jabba's Palace. And then you'll be able to, from there, travel across the Dune Sea for a view of the mighty Sarlacc. So outside of the front of the ride will be Jabba's Palace, where you'll hear Max Rebo band featuring live music. And then from the ride, you will load onto a skiff and then journey across the Dune Sea with a guide telling you about the area. So while in transit, you will see a sandcrawler with Jawas making deals for droids. You'll see the Crate Dragon skeleton. You'll see Tusken Raiders with their banthas riding and trying to shoot you down, and various other creatures in the desert. So you'll see all the creatures from the desert, the Dune Sea. And once the skiff reaches its destination, you will come face to face with a life-size great pit of Carcoon. I can't read tonight. The nesting place for the all-powerful Sarlacc. So you'll have the pit, the Sarlacc pit, in all of its glory right there, which is surrounded by Jabba's sail barge. as well as other small skiffs. So you'll have all these skiffs from people coming in from different parts of the ride to circle the Sarlacc pit. And then much like the Great Movie Ride, there'll be like a stunt show on Jabba's. So if you remember the Great Movie Ride, the person that drove the vehicle would get out and he would play a part. So same thing's going to happen here. Your guide will play a part, and you'll see the whole scene from Return of the Jedi play out. You'll have you'll have Luke Skywalker, Han Solo,
R2.
Lando, R2, C-3PO. You'll see all this playing out as like a stunt
Leia.
show type thing. Yeah, Leia. Yeah, Slave
Come
Leia
on, man.
will be there. So you'll see all this playing out. So a mixture of animatronics and the live actors creating the battle from the Return of the Jedi. And of course, Boba Fett will be there. You have to have Boba Fett. And then when the stunt show ends, your skiff will speed away back to the drop-off location. So it's like the Great Movie Ride, but like times 100 because of everything going on. So that is my ride for this.
Wow.
This chapter. I don't know what you guys think.
I think it's great, but I think it'd be even better if Disney actually crossbred one of those elephants to make it into a bantha.
Oh my.
Disney made a real bantha.
What would they crossbreed it with?
I don't get paid that much money. You figure that out. Like, I'm not an Imagineer. They could do it. I don't want it robotic either. I want it real. Like, this is Animal Kingdom. Come on, I want a real bantha. Come on, Disney, figure it out.
Does Boba Fett fall into the Sarlacc pit at the end of this? Yeah,
of course he does. And then when you're going back to their to get let off the ride, you'll see C-3PO's legs sticking up in the sand, kicking back and forth. So it's all there. I want to ride this ride now. That's my ride. So we got 2 left.
K-Tron, go for it.
All right. So my second option was Endor.
Oh,
I'm glad that you chose Endor. I thought that was actually the obvious one, much like your wife said. I was like, that seems like the most logical.
There you go.
There you go. So I'm glad that you didn't pick mine. I knew nobody's going to pick mine, though, because I went back to a previous movie, to Empire Strikes Back. And I'm actually doing something that's impossible.
It's hot.
It's hot.
Yes.
So we're actually going to transport or transform, rather, Africa into Hoth. So the whole land will just be Hoth, I guess, is what will happen. So I actually have a picture of the ride vehicle because I found this vehicle.
Oh.
It was a toy that was never made. Okay. It was a toy concept. So let me pull it up on the screen. Sorry for those just listening, but imagine
if you will.
Yeah. Imagine the ride.
Oh,
nice.
Kilimanjaro Safaris. Except that it has tank tracks on it, right?
Yes.
And it has cannons where I'm going to say that's where the driver sits. I know
like
the driver
G.I. Joe vehicle.
It does look like a G.I. Joe vehicle. There probably is one just like it, but it's a transporter that could carry people, or I saw another picture where it could actually carry a snow speeder to transport. So, but in this instance, it's being used to transport you are becoming part of the Rebel Alliance.
Sweet.
So you're greeted by a Rebel Alliance officer, and he's like, "Okay, you're here. We've got this mission. We're going to transport these supplies over to the remote outpost of Hoth, and we may encounter some crazy stuff out there. So get ready. You get on, and you're in the ride, and we take this vehicle across the icy tundra of Hoth, of course, and we're on the way. We're seeing all the tauntauns and maybe some wampas, and I had to go look at these what kind of animals were on Hoth that were maybe in comic books and things like that. So ice worms and Hoth hogs, snow mouse or snow bears, different creatures around. So kind of keeping the same idea of the safari, but it's cold. Now that was the other thing. I was like, okay, it's not going to be cold. it's Florida, so you're just gonna have to pretend a little bit. Maybe there's some air conditioning on the.
I mean, they've got Blizzard Beach.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's some air conditioning on this transport vehicle. So, but as you start progressing along, you start to see the AT-AT walkers, the ATSDs, and you see some snow troopers that are battling the rebels, and it starts to come to a climax, and you're getting towards the end, and it's again kind of like Rise of the Resistance, where you're just kind of getting through this event that's happening around you. And the cool thing about this, though, is that there are these cannons on the vehicle, so he's firing at the snow troopers and at the ATSTs, and maybe off in the distance as you're finishing the ride, you see an AT-AT walker fall down, because it got tripped by the wires, and you make it out and everybody's excited. So then when you exit the ride, you can go over to the Tauntaun Sundae Bar, which is is it the Hawa Bar? Is that what's near there? I think is the name of the place. But we came up with my son and I came up with this idea. But some of the things you can get at the Tauntaun Sundae Bar, you can get a lukewarm Haas chocolate, a Wampa swirl, a Tauntaun fuzzy sundae, a snow trooper snow cone, and blue milk ice pops. So
this place smelled bad.
So
on the outside.
Yeah. So really all you would have to do, Katrin, for this ride to make this feel like you're in Hoth, enclose this ride vehicle where it's like a dome over top of the vehicle and pump AC in it.
Yes.
So it's cold. So that makes you think you're in the cold, because everything outside, because Disney and Imagineering can make it look like
they
snow
can make it look like snow
and ice. And then because it's flat at Disney or in Florida, as far as I can see, they can make it look like it's just snow everywhere.
And it's huge, like you said. It's acres
110 acres. So just enclose it in the dome, freeze them out, and then they'll think they're on Hoth. There you go.
That's cool.
So I like it.
I want that vehicle.
Plus,
though.
I love
like,
I love the
did
Wampa. Like I've got the pommel, the Wampa pommel.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, Martin,
So
we're ready. We are ready to hear the amazingness that's about to come out of your mouth.
Oh boy, I've thought way too much about this.
Welcome to our lives.
That's right.
So, for no particular reason, I wanted to actually kind of keep it in the same time frame as Galaxy's Edge and Galactic Starcruiser, just because.
Yeah.
And I thought about this. The only time we've ever really heard about a zoo kind of being referenced in Star Wars is in Force Awakens. There's that throwaway line that Han Solo's getting these Rathtars for King Prana.
Yes.
And they actually did kind of fill that out in the novelization that, King Prana's got this big zoo with all these dangerous creatures, and he's in competition with this other ruler, like the next galaxy over, who's got his own, zoo of dangerous creatures. And I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be the biggest flex in the world to have like your zoo be a tourist attraction? So I'm like envisioning Disney would be, King Prana presents the Perilous Predator Trek. And I always love when you go on these Disney attractions in the pre-show, like before you get on Kilimanjaro Safaris, they got the little show above that's narrated.
Yeah.
And before you go on a safari to view all of the dangerous animals in the galaxy that want to kill you, there's only one character I could think of that I wanted to have narrate that pre-show, and that is Danny Trejo's Rancor Keeper from Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And at the end, he'd be like, the only thing more dangerous than these creatures is me. I need something, very. And as far as I know, I don't think they ever actually gave the Danny Trejo Rancor Keeper a name, did they?
I don't think so.
I think it's actually unnamed. So I just came up with it until, Matt Martin or Pablo Hidalgo tells me I'm wrong. I'm going to say that it's Adacom, which is machete backwards, which is a very Star Wars thing to do. So
Nice.
Danny Trejo's Rancor Keeper Idacom is going to be telling us about all the dangerous creatures we're going to see. And I kind of tried to keep it within something that I thought Imagineering could do.
Yeah.
Without and I'm thinking to myself, okay,
Adding fake snow.
yeah, but it's funny that having Kilimanjaro Safari, what are the things that people always ooh and ah over? The baby animals. So the only thing cooler than seeing an animal that could kill you is seeing a baby version of an animal that could kill you. And I'm like,
it's so cute.
Like a baby rancor. Who wouldn't love to see a baby rancor? Or like a Nexu. Come on, everyone would love a Nexu is something that they could pull off in one of those ecosystems. And something that I saw in Universal, they've got in that new Jurassic Park ride, they've got the screens with the Mosasaurus, the big sea creature, the water, and it's on this, and it's very convincingly portrayed. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, you could get the OPC killer. What is it? The Sando Aqua Monster and the Cola Clawfish from episode 1. Yeah. You could have a little drive-by and a screen thing to do that underwater, and that'd be something you could definitely do. But like a Wampa, an Acklay, the Creek Nut giant spiders from Rebels. I mean, I love Rebels. I don't know if anyone likes Rebels.
My favorite. Yeah.
I love Rebels, and those giant Creek Nut spiders that are awesome. And then they got the ice versions.
The mythosaur in there too. You just have like the eye
where the hippos are.
Could you imagine? I would freak out.
I would love it. A Dianoga poking its tentacles out. I mean, I'm thinking. I really have thought about every single one of these creatures. I'm like, Imagineering could totally do this. And a Rathtar. You got to end with Han Solo didn't do it, but Hondo Onaka got these Raftars here or something. Who knows? And that'd be the big finish to the ride. And I'm thinking I would line up again and again and again to see the who's who of dangerous things in the galaxy. I mean, it can be like a behind the scenes tour of the Geonosian arena from Attack of the Clones. I mean, they had to keep those animals somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see it. I think that'd be a hell of a ride.
Yeah. And the merchandise would be phenomenal because you had all the creatures at the end of the ride in a gift shop that you could buy babies of them to take home.
That's why I wanted Endor, because the Ewoks. I mean, I had the little Ewok. Like,
yes,
I still have the Ewoks.
Now, with Katrin, with yours, it would be so funny if they took Disco Yeti and made it a Wampa.
That was my only thing. Was that am I using this idea in place of Expedition Everest? When it's already gotten but I was like, no, we'll figure out something else.
I'll use it for that.
There you go.
if Danny Trejo, he's famous for his tacos, which I've heard are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Is he going to have his own Star Wars version taco stand at the end of the ride?
That's what I was thinking.
They've got Ronto Wraps and Galaxy's Edge, so what would you call it? Atacom's taco stand?
Yes,
I would
right
be
where
there.
The corn stands at.
Yes.
Oh, nice. I'm loving.
They should do that anyways. I love tacos. I know they're not from Africa, but I want tacos.
Yeah. Hey, you can put some street corn in the tacos. I would be all for that. So, it's funny. I was just at Animal Kingdom, and a restaurant I had never been at before was Tiffin's, and I know that's not directly adjacent to the ride, but Tiffin's is a super cool. The whole thing's themed about the Imagineers experience. In their they do these inspiration trips around the world. When they were designing Animal Kingdom, and it's all about their inspiration trips. And I just think it'd be cool to have a restaurant that was all about all the different ecosystems, and every room was a different ecosystem that a set of animals came from. You could have a Hoth room. You could have a Tatooine. I mean, everything wants to kill you on Tatooine.
That's true.
So I just think that the ideas for implementing this, I want to see it real bad now.
Yes.
My only other thought was like, since it's so big, you just make it pod racing.
That's another ride.
Oh,
yeah, that would be cool too. Oh well, 4 different people, 4 different completely ideas. I don't know how it always works out like this, where something doesn't overlap, but
I think it's because we now we know to have some backup plans.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, as a listener, when I was listening to your first 3 episodes, I was riveted, hoping that there was going to be a train wreck of stolen ideas.
The one with the second episode with David Dollar, when 3 of us did something from the Clone Wars and none of it was the same.
So close.
I was just like, because I was the last one to go for the Clone Wars people. I was like, no, don't know. Okay, we're good. We're good.
That's why I make these graphics, because then I'm like, see, I made the graphics, so I must have been the first one to do it.
I'm just gonna get a tattoo for every ride that I create before the show.
Oh, that'd be cool.
We also
around my neck.
We also have an idea to make it a little more random, to have some sort of either randomizer for the or a wheel to spin for this is the ride, maybe one for the ride, but then also one for the planet or the time period or something like that, or multiple different wheels, and then it's like different for every, and then you have to come up with that. And
we should do a live show. Do our live show.
Yeah,
we should do every once in a while, do a live show with spin the wheel, see what we get, because that would be fun, because then you'll have the chat, and that should be our live show. Katrin, you've cracked the code.
You win.
Because this episode, all of Martin's fans are just going to come over, and we're just going to have so many people listening that we'll have to start doing live shows again. Right? Yes.
Yeah. Well, and they need to go. All of our fans need to go check out.
Oh, definitely. It is such a fun podcast, Heroes of the Halcyon. Hopefully we can get Drew on here, and because I think he would love this too.
Christine's over here. She's got her list of ideas as well.
Yes,
so you got,
all of
three people.
Yes.
Yeah,
there's enough attractions where we could just have as many guests as we want. That's the cool thing about this podcast. It can just go on forever because Disney keeps making new attractions, which will give us some new content to do.
It's going to happen where they're going to use one of our rides. It's going to be great.
Wow.
I'm still saying I love sci-fi dining, but I still think that they should just make it George Lucas and do it with like American Graffiti and then play all of his movies.
Yep.
With the
Landspeeder. Wouldn't have to change anything.
Wow, that writes itself. Wow.
Yeah. We're just waiting for Disney. We'll just
give us a
call
call
on their call.
Yep. Yeah.
We're ready. We will all be Imagineers. I'm fine with that.
Oh, I love it. Well, Martin, thank you for coming on. I think we've about to reach our hour mark. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Well, you can always find us at heroesofthehalcyon.com, and we're big on Instagram. So just go to Instagram, Heroes of the Halcyon. A lot of fun adventures, new episodes every week. This week starts season 3.
Sweet. I can't wait to listen. And not only just a podcast, but they did an event before the Halcyon. They raised a ton of money for Make-A-Wish, which was really cool. So thank you for doing that. That meant a lot to me that you guys did that. And I was happy to participate in that. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, you were a big part of that. I mean, we had a kind of a before the voyage. We did a Starcruiser Superfans muster meetup. It sold out. We actually had a sellout crowded. We rented out a location in Disney Springs and had a bunch of Star Wars creators donate, Starcruiser and Starcruiser Galaxy's Edge type items. And Ryan, you donated 2 different items. We generated, what was it, almost $5,600 for Make-A-Wish Orlando.
Wow.
So thank you so much. It's the community is just so generous. I can't say enough about them.
Yeah, thank you for doing it. And hopefully we'll see you back on the Starcruiser sooner rather than later. I'll get back there someday. I want to take my son, so I'll get back there. I want to take these guys too.
Yes.
Derek, I know I could probably get. Katrin, we're going to get you on.
I mean, I'm working my angles. I'm going to figure out a way that Disney's going to invite me on, and you laugh about it, but I always find
you can do it. I know.
I always find an angle.
I will be right there with you. I'll be like, oh yes, I should probably go with you. We're all going to get on there. I'm going to get on there again. You guys are going to get on the first time. It's going to be fun. But anyways, this has been chapter 4 of Living with the Landspeeder, and it's been a fun one. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Katrin. Thank you, Derek. And we'll see you next time on Living with the Landspeeder.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.